Dramatic fade in to Gates of Hell, Ostfront, Conquest. Diving right in so I can explain as it happens. I spawn all my units in, as I don't have that many of them, and I begin assigning my infantry squads as 1, 2, and 3 by pressing Shift and then the number. And then when you double tap the number, it'll take you right to the squad, and you can just give an order. This is a game I played last night, and I'm going to do a bit of a walkthrough to just talk about defense to help you get a little bit better at it. I'm playing against a hard enemy AI, and this is day 2 of a conquest, so it's the first defense mission. I did some things well, but I also did some things poorly, so I'm just going to explore those things a little bit. I begin moving my units up closer to the front, and then I start taking a good look at the map and the terrain to find positions I can place my units so I have the advantage. I've even paused the game here so I can look further and take more time to find good positions. And I end up settling on this hill here, which is quite close to their spawn. It's maybe too close to their spawn, but I couldn't really give this spot away as it's such a good position and I've got the advantage here. So I begin setting up defenses in this position. I start mining the concealment and the bushes because the enemy will probably use these to get closer. And then I start putting in some tank dugout positions in, as I've got a Marder 2, which is very vulnerable. I always try to bring engineers and AP miners on every defense because, yeah, they do come in handy. So I'm still just looking around the map for strong positions that I can dot my infantry around in. I'm not trying to hold the entire map. I'm just trying to hold the most defendable positions, and then I can move my infantry around in the game. To set multiple foxholes up, I have an infantry squad selected, and I've also clicked the foxhole in the bottom bar, and I hold shift and click and drag in the direction of the enemy, so the squad will spread out and dig their own foxholes. I didn't do this in this game because I forgot, but once you've assigned them to dig all of the foxholes, you can use the shortcut K and it'll disband the squad and they'll stay in the foxhole. So one thing I'm really focusing on for my defense is using the reverse slope, and you'll see why this is so powerful quite early on. So I'm setting all of my positions up on the reverse slope of the hill. So the enemy has to come over the hill, cross the crest of the hill and fully expose themselves before they can see me. And the second they appear, they just get cut down. You'll see this in action in this game and it works quite well. So now I'm looking for another position for a tank ditch, just in case I have to pull back or the enemy comes from a different direction. Before the enemy arrive, I'll just keep trying to set up defences and keep looking around the map for good positions or places I could put infantry or mines, etc. I'm really bad at this, but try get all of your units to the front line. This is something I don't do well in this game. Or get your units closer to the action behind cover somewhere so you can just bring them up really easily. When they have to race across the map, it's not good, especially if the enemy infantry are there. So now I set up some OPs, which proved to be a failure, but I put those guys on hold fire so they can just watch who's coming. But again, I'm so close to the spawn. Now I'm setting up some hedgehogs to just keep any vehicles from flanking this position and just continuing to move units up that I need. I've got these Jaeger infantry set up nicely on this reverse slope now, and this is the deadly position which gets a nice little kill streak within the game. As you can see on the map, I'm really far away from the points, A lot of people think that you just have to defend the points, but I think you need to look at the terrain of the map and find the most defendable position, which on this map seems to be right at their spawn. Yeah, that was how quick that forward scout got taken out, but that's okay, because it's just one guy. And my main defence is the other side of the hill. So my defence seems to be going okay. The Marder just got a nice shot off, and luckily my Panzer shows up in the nick of time. Takes out that machine gun. Another great hit by the Marder. I've managed to get this Marder in a really good position. Just unstoppable, really. So that's the power of the reverse slope. The second they came over that hill, they were just dead. They didn't even have a chance to react. So this is the sight line from the enemy. Can't see anything, dead. You know, it works so well, this reverse slope technique. Can't see anything, Leodama cheese. That is one of the best tips I think I learned for this game, was that reverse slope technique. Because when you put them on the opposite side, overlooking the enemy can just fire everything they've got at you. So you just lose all of your infantry quickly. But on the reverse slope, you keep them safe. And they're also harder to hit with artillery and mortars. This is where my mistakes happen. I got a little bit cocky with my Panzer, and for some reason drove him right into the open up there, which was a mistake because I ended up losing it. Also taking up this time to set up some more positions in case they end up flanking. And it looks like there's another wave inbound. And I'm too busy setting up these foxholes right here. And I realise that both of my medics are on the front line, and that's one down and two down. So I've just lost both my medics, so I can't revive anyone now. So that was a big mistake. And then sometime before that, but I was busy making foxholes, I lost my Panzer. That was just out in the open too. So that's how easily you can lose units, especially if you're distracted doing something else. But that's okay. I survived this one. And that Marder is just tearing it up in that position. I have a bit of a struggle with this field gun, as the Marder just can't really get a shot on it. However, the field gun can't get a shot on the Marder either. You can see from this angle why the Marder's in such a good position, because only the top of it and the barrel is sticking out. Got enemy infantry quite close to the Marder there. You know, if I wasn't playing against the AI and I was playing against a player, that Marder it'd be dead by now, because you can kill it with a normal grenade. However, I keep onto it because the AI didn't think to just run over the hill and throw grenades. So I end up sending some infantry to take out this field gun, get them to smoke, and then move up. I'm playing against a hard enemy AI, and this is day 2 of a Conquest. So before I can get to the field gun, I need to take out this machine gun. There he is. This is actually a mod, a first-person camera mod. And then, just as I approach, the Marder eventually gets a shot off on it. Nice. Inside that soldier's head. And then I set up him a little position. Again, kind of the other side of the hill, so he's got a lot of the hill to keep bullets at bay. Another wave coming in, some more infantry. The machine gun on the Marder's really helpful as well. Oh, another field gun. But that machine gun on the Marder is helping quite a bit. But yeah, just too much hill in the way. But at least the field gun's not hitting the Marder. So hopefully in this video you're seeing just the power of that reverse slope technique, because I've lost... The only infantry I've lost were because I'd put them on the other side of the slope. But the enemy are really struggling to get past this position. They haven't got anywhere near the point. So I'd say this defence is going well, and we're about halfway through it. So I'm feeling quite confident at this point. The enemy do start to flank at this point, sending some infantry to the west. But I'm able to counter-attack and stop it quite quickly. So here I'm just admiring the defensive position again. There are some maps where you just can't do this reverse slope technique because the map is too flat. So a good tip is to do it behind a building or solid bits of cover. A lot of the maps are just wood, or the buildings are just made out of wood, so there isn't any solid cover. So you've just got to lay guys down in little sunken roads and tiny ditches and streams and that sort of thing. But you've really got to look at the terrain, and I think that's something the game doesn't really explain. But it's the same with all World War II games and any military games. It's the terrain is so important, but everyone just runs across the map. If you're playing a first-person shooter game, it's the same. So I decide to counter-attack this flank with my infantry, just another squad of my infantry, first squad. And I just slowly move them up to block this infantry that wants to attack this second point. I've also got second squad in these woods here, just sitting there harassing them as they move up. So I'm hitting them from two sides. A ton more infantry running up now. So I begin to move these first squad guys further up. So I begin bounding them over just a few at a time so they can get closer and within their MP40 range. The enemy AI is a really good example of how not to approach objectives, as they kind of just run out in the open and don't use the cover. Obviously that's the AI that's doing that. You really just want to use the ground. Like here, I'm using the ground. So the majority of that enemy infantry can't fire on my infantry that's near that lake because they're down near the waterline. Again, I'm just moving around the map and looking at positions. Is this a good position? And I'd say so, yes, because it doesn't look like the enemy's getting any hits. But we've stopped the enemy, and that's the main thing. So I begin moving this first squad up further to take out the rest of them. I get these submachine gun guys up against this rock so they can begin firing on the Soviets. And then I get my machine gunner to run up this hill and get a firing position. Again, just sitting on that reverse side. I do end up having to crawl him up. Because, yeah, he can't fire upon them. But if I just ran to the top of the hill and then sat in the open, he'd just die. And this is what you've always got to think about with your units, it doesn't matter if it's a tank, it doesn't matter if it's infantry, you just really got to keep them in cover and use that ground. If you just use this one technique, even on the attack as well, I guarantee you're just going to become such a better player and you're going to keep your infantry alive. Again, this mod's really nice because it gives you a nicer view when you're in first person. I can't remember the actual name of the mod, but if somebody asks in the comments, I'm sure I can find out. And attack destroyed. And I think that's the end for the enemy. That's all they've got in them. So I would call that a success. Yes, I lost a tank because I wasn't paying attention, and I lost both my medics trying to revive one guy. You should always split your medics up. But that reverse slope defense was, yeah, incredibly successful. I'm happy with that. This is only day 2 in Conquest, so they didn't throw tanks at me, they didn't throw heavy artillery or anything like that. But yeah, just look at this position. That Marder just gets full view of this, but it's impossible to hit. Especially because they just spawned in and then were shot to pieces. Maybe I was too close to the spawn. Maybe I'm taking the fun out of it. But it's just where this position was and where the map is. But yeah. So at the end of the match, you always want to recrew downed enemy team weapons and fix up enemy tanks and recrew them. Here I'm just dealing with a leftover machine gun. In that first person mode again. Deceased. Yeah, you want to recrew the team weapons because you can sell them before your next match, and I'll show you how to do that at the end. But this is amazing because you get more cash to buy more of your units, and if you do this for the first 6-7 days, you're going to have a load of surplus cash to buy more units, and then you're just never going to run out of cash if you just do this every match and just jump on a machine gun and sell it at the end. But you always want to make sure you sell the enemy units that you've captured before you resupply your units, because it will also resupply the captured units as well. So that's an important thing. Hopefully this guide has been helpful and given you some tips and techniques to get better at defense. If you've got any tips for new players or anything like that, make sure to drop them in the comments. And yeah, like and subscribe. I'm trying to make more videos on Gates of Hell, Ostfront, and I'd love to know what you want to see so I can make stuff that people actually want to watch. I only lost 9 guys and the enemy lost 149, so I think that's pretty good going.